Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off with breaching the Vistula defenses, which is a breakthrough for the Soviets. We're now on to the British launch an offensive. January 16th, 1945. The Tommies attack. Infantry and armor of the British Second Army launched a new attack on the German salient between Roermond and Glankring, oh boy, I can't say that, east of the Maas River, on January 16th. In the picture above, the Tommies go after Nazi snipers, and below, infantrymen advance cautiously during fierce street fighting, despite mud and snow. The assault gained local objectives. Yeah, they are attacking the salient wherever they can. They're making some headway. The war was kind of a little bit in a stalemate for about a month. There was not much movement. Then the Germans, the Battle of the Bulge, and then on the Eastern Front, the Soviets are now breaking through. Everywhere is collapsing for the Germans, and it's going to collapse really quick here. And as it starts collapsing, a lot of the atrocities that were happening in Germany are going to get discovered. The liberation of Krakow. January 1945. Victory procession. Soviet horse-drawn artillery passes triumphantly through Krakow above, and Soviet scouts, the first to enter the city, are greeted by the population below. At the southern end of the long Russian front, the first Ukrainian army also liberated Chetstochow, I can't say that, Chetstochow, and Radomansk. In the first week of the final drive of the Soviets to break through to Germany and Berlin. Yep, the end is coming. The book's even alluding to it right there. It's the final drive for the Soviets to break through to Germany and finally Berlin. This is now a ticking clock. Polish troops parade in liberated Warsaw. January 17th, 1945. Victory March. Polish troops parade triumphantly through a ravaged street in Warsaw. Liberated on January 17th by the Russians after over 5 years of occupation by the Nazi oppressors. Polish units helped free their capital. It's kind of goofy to think, though. It's like, oh, well, look at this. They're having the Polish, go through here, but they're just under new management. It's not even really liberated. It's liberated in the sense that it's now liberated into the Soviet Union. Bombs float down on Clark Field. January 17th, 1945. The bloom of death. The white blossoms are parachutes bearing bombs, parafrags, from American B-25s. One Japanese plane is seen to blown to bits, while the camouflaged plane at the right escapes momentarily. The attack was made against enemy craft on the ground at Clark Field. Important airfield, which was taken by the Yanks January 25th. Clark Field is about halfway between Lingayen Gulf and Manila. You can see these bombs being dropped down. And yeah, the one plane got hit. I think that's the other one they were talking about, which did not get hit. Trying to see here. Kind of hard to tell. But one of the planes got hit. You can see all the parachutes going down on Clark Field. Return to the ruins of Warsaw. January 1945. The deposed. With their meager belongings loaded in a cart, this family returns to its much battered home in Warsaw. Liberated by the Russians, January 17th, the wrecked city still smolders. And below, a bedraggled family finds trees stripped of their branches by shellfire. Their home a shambles. Warsaw had been under siege by the Russians since the summer of 1944. And you can see that's a long time for it to be under siege. I think it's about the same amount of time, maybe a little bit less than Stalingrad, and definitely less than Leningrad. And these sieges in World War II, they're just devastating. These cities get, in some cases, pretty much obliterated. Even a city as big as Warsaw and as important as Warsaw, I mean, look at it. It's just rubble. Some of the buildings are still there, but not by much. The Russians sweep through Poland. January 17th, 1945. Pultusk in flames. In the first electrifying days of the Soviet winter offensive, hundreds of Polish communities were swept clear of the enemy. As the Second White Russian Army advanced north of the Polish capital, it forged two bridgeheads across the Narew River, freeing Moscow, Chisinau, and Pultusk, which is shown in flames as red infantrymen stem forward. Yeah, they're talking about, obviously they said a little bit in a few other pages just now, the Soviet advance, and it's coming hard, and it's coming fast. There's another example. They're sweeping through Poland. The Germans are being kicked out. And this also goes back to a previous episode, the Battle of the Bulge. This is what I was talking about when I said the Germans threw away all of their troops, basically. All their best troops, their best supplies, everything. Now all that's holding on to Germany and what they had is a shamble of its former self. This is an example of that. Filipinos don Sunday's best for liberators. January 1945. Clothes come out of hiding. During the long Japanese occupation of Luzon, Filipino women stored their good clothes away. But when the Yank liberators arrived, the natives put on their gayest costumes to celebrate their freedom. These modish women from Santa Barbara are looking their bashful best for the conquering American heroes. Yes, obviously they use some wordage there that some people would think they're saying maybe almost insults at them. No, gayest just means happiest. Best, older English definition of it. And yeah, how much did these women actually do this without being prompted? Who's to say? I wouldn't really call America heroes, but they're not the Japanese, at least. And for these women, that's probably a lot better. Storm in the Pacific. January 1945. A carrier battles the sea. The Japanese were not the only menace in the Pacific. Here, a huge aircraft carrier of the Essex class tossed out about like a tin plate in heavy seas of a January storm. The ocean seethes and the atmosphere is binding under the lash of a heavy wind. Yeah, you can't underestimate the sea. These things might be huge, but the ocean is much larger. If it wants to flip you, it's going to flip you. So just be careful when you're out there on the ocean. The Reds enter Hungary's capital. January 1945. Inside Budapest. Soviet troops have broken into the city and, although fighting is still going on, a Russian women soldier calmly regulates traffic of vehicles and pedestrians. But the shooting continued and, in the picture below, Red Army men crouched behind a picket fence to fire their Tommy guns at a Hitlerite strongpoint in the town's residential section. Yeah, you can see that woman, as they said, directing traffic, things like that. And yeah, you can see the men with their Tommy guns, which, that's definitely a Tommy. I believe these are all Tommies. Yeah, these are all Tommy guns. That almost looks like a Papasha, actually. These actually all kind of look like Papashas, now that you mention it. But, yeah, the Soviets are going to clear Budapest. Hungary is going to be liberated. But once again, it's one of those, it's liberated into the Soviet Union. It's whenever the Soviets liberate something, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. It's a liberation in name only. It's more like new management. But with that, that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Tell me what I can improve on. I always appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.